Welcome to another edition of Black Authors Matter TV, where we bring you all of the latest authors, publishers, and everything that's moving and shaking in the book industry. And tonight is no different. I'm Gwen Richardson. I'm your host for tonight, along with my co-host,
Dr. Rhonda Lawson.
And we have another amazing lineup tonight. I'm going to say who the lineup is before I make my announcement. So tonight we have I always mix her name up. Naleighna K.
Naleighna
Kai. Okay. I always get mixed up. I don't know why. But she is doing some amazing things. So she's going to be on to talk about all the things she has going on. We have Stephanie Jackson. She's a motivational author with BK Royston Publishing. That's a publishing house that makes their office available from time to time so we can see what they're doing. We have Stephen Barnes. He's a best-selling sci-fi and suspense author. He has a new book coming out in a couple of weeks. And then we have Ekua Brew-Hammond, who has a new children's book called Blue. And she's going to be our final guest. So before we bring our first guest on, I do want to remind people about the Black Authors Matter TV Awards. We've gotten over 1,500 ballots cast so far. The last day to vote is March 31st at midnight. So that's Thursday at midnight. And on next week's show, we will announce the finalists. There'll be 5 finalists in 16 categories. So that should be really fun.
It was hard to decide. I was like,
it was.
Interview all these people.
We've had, because it's been for a full year. So we had a lot of people that we've interviewed, and it's very competitive. It's some of the people have, some of the leaders are starting to pull away, but it's not too late to tell your friends and fans to vote for you if you're one of the nominees, people in the process. So for the National Black Book Festival, early bird registration ends on Thursday. So if you plan to sign up, that's when you get the most favorable terms and rate. You only have to put down $50, and your final balance is due by July 31st. After Thursday, the price goes up. So if you plan to come, the best way, the most favorable pricing and terms is the early bird. And the Jerry Pinkney Children's Book Awards, that process is ongoing. We've had lots of people sending their children's books in all the different categories. So that's exciting. There are lots and lots of children's authors that are writing African-American.
That's going to be really nice award. I'm looking forward to seeing who wins that.
So without further ado, we're going to bring on our first guest, Naleighna Kai. And it doesn't say that on there, but I'm hoping this is her. Because it doesn't have her name on there.
We'll know when they show us their beautiful face.
Yeah, we'll know when. Oh, somebody's coming on. Somebody's coming on the camera. Okay, it is her. I didn't know. I wasn't sure. The macro group. I wasn't for sure if that was you. But let's get your mic on.
Yeah. Unmute.
There we go. Yeah, my apologies. That is the company name. So that's what it's under. So I can easily do a quick, and because I wasn't in the room or in the background, I couldn't get in and rename. It won't let you do that until you get on. So
okay. Well, welcome to Black Authors Matter TV. And you have had a long and busy career, and it's still long and busy. So
indeed.
So for those who don't know you that are tuning in, tell us how you got started as an author, and then what motivated you to expand that and bring other authors under your umbrella? Called The Tribe, right? It's called
Yes. Naleighna
Tribe.
Tribe Called Success.
Okay.
Indeed. So, well, to start off about me and how I kind of moved into this writing path, I am Naleighna Kai, and I help others who have finally found the courage and strength to tell their truth and share their stories, whether it's through memoirs, self-help, or fiction. I was adopted by my biological mother, and the physical abuse was exponential, compounded by the fact that my father did not respect my right to say no, and my uncle did not respect my right to say no. So my literary career started 23 years ago when I put my pain and healing on the page, and that page became my passion. And now the passion is my purpose. So I'm a USA Today and Essence Magazine international best-selling author of 36 books, an Amazon influencer, a literary agent who lands traditional book deals, and the book whisperer, the person that people come to when they're thinking about writing and publishing a book, and I will help them to do the damn thing. I believe everyone has a story to tell, and I'm just one of the people who can help them to tell it well. I brought the tribe together because, this writing is a solitary thing, but marketing and promotion, that is more of a widespread effort. And I have a group of authors, everybody from New York Times bestsellers to people who are just coming through the gate, and pairing them up in this process to market and promote, cross promote, but also we also write together. We do series, we do anthologies. We challenge ourselves to write outside of our comfort zone. It has been the most amazing experience, helped us to land book deals with traditional publishing houses. And we become a family. And there's people who say that they're family, but we're different. We've paid mortgages when people experience challenges. We buy new computers. We help people plan for trips there. I'm doing a trip to Dubai in November, the Cavalcade of Authors in Dubai. And there's a couple of people who I know, this one, that they have the heart to go, but the finances aren't quite there. Everybody in Tribe pitched in to make sure they get air and hotel covered. Wonderful. And it was about 2 people that happened for. It was a trip that we're doing here in Chicago, the Black Women's Expo. There's some people who didn't even have that trip on their radar. I wanted them here to have this experience. It's like a big family reunion. Tribe put their funds together. All I had to do is the call out. Boom. The money's there. They're on their way to Chicago. And then the biggest thing that we've done as a family happened this February for my birthday. My birthday is February 4th. There was a tribe member we just met over the last 2 years. And she has a challenge during the month of February where something very dark that happened in her life. And all of February, she's kind of depressed and she goes into herself. Well, we surprised her for my birthday, and about 9 or 10 tribe members converged in York, Pennsylvania to kind of shift her dynamic, to uplift her and to let her know that she wasn't alone. We had never laid eyes on her except for Zoom because, this pandemic kind of shut things down. But that was my birthday present, was to spend that time to her. And she's been different ever since then. She's stronger. I believe she's becoming the person that she would have been had that tragic thing not happened.
That's beautiful.
Okay.
And I think that's the way that authors should support each other. I mean, because we sometimes get caught up in I need to sell books. I need to sell books. And you start making things a competition, or you start making things where you just feel like you have to do it. But when you can come together with people the way the tribe has, and I've been a part of the tribe as well. I want to be more active because I love what you do. But
yeah, you were part of the promo partners. You were at that was the very beginning. So you were there at the beginning. Yeah.
But still, what you all were doing was amazing, and the way you supported each other. Like when you came to my event in New Orleans, the way you all supported each other and made sure that everybody who was a part of your tribe sold out their books. And I think that's the way it should be. So writing can be solitary, but it doesn't have to be solitary. And I think that your group, your tribe has shown that it doesn't have to be a solitary thing, that you're not in this by yourself.
Right.
Well, that's amazing. One of your authors was on the show, I want to say a month ago, roughly, Sierra Kay. And she was singing the praises of your praises and the tribe and all of that. And so we have to have Naleighna on just so we can find out more about the tribe and what you all are doing. Now, is this an imprint? Excuse me. Is this an imprint for a large publishing house, or is this your own?
This is my company.
Publishing.
The Tribe,
Okay.
they each have their own publishing house. What I do as a business is I help people to start their own publishing houses, but they know the process for doing it the same way that we do. So we're all on one accord. We're all with the same platforms and vendors. We all know how to build a brand on social media. All of the things that we learned together, I have a video or several videos that everybody, I don't care if you just coming through the gate or if you've been through the gate 20 years ago, everyone watches this video of publishing, writing, advanced writing, marketing, promotion. So we all know the same things. So in that, everybody controls their own process. So it's not an imprint, but that would be a wonderful thing. But no, everybody, it's like little subsidiaries, but they each manage their process, their deadlines, their times. Now I do publish the series because I have my books go through a different aggregator to get the books out there. It's not just Ingram Spark. I don't even put my ebooks through Ingram Sparks or on Amazon directly. I have another aggregator that I use to put the series out there because there's more opportunities for marketing and promotion. And I'm slowly bringing each one of the Tribe members, getting them a deal with this particular aggregator because it's amazing. It has helped with sales. It's been profound, and opportunity. It's not just about sales. It's also about opportunities. And I tell people that all the time. You said that earlier about, competition in sales. No, not book sales, book opportunities.
Absolutely. And often people, I think sometimes people overlook the opportunity because they're so concentrated on sales. So I'm really glad that you made that point. You may not sell 30 books, but you may have an opportunity that can lead to even bigger sales or even bigger platforms. You just have to be open when you go to these events.
Yes.
And it's about meeting the right people at the right time. It's timing. And nobody can do everything by themselves. I mean, it's the writing part. Yes, you do write alone, but even with that, you can always get advice and tips, and people have a process for writing that they share that can help other people. So it's better. Two is better than one, and 10 is even better. So now, how many people are in your tribe right now?
We have a solid 30. We've had more people come and we've had some people go. And the thing about it is, there's 3 main rules. Covers are done by my son, and you can see some of them right behind me. Covers, content, we go through an editing queue. We have several editors in-house, Janice Allen, J.L. Campbell, all of them, Stephanie Freeman, they're the editors. And then cross-promote, those 3 things. At any point in time when people cannot do either one of those things, it's time to go. And here's why. There are people who are promoting your book and they haven't even read it. But if they know that it's gone through the proper process, we have beta readers that only read our work. And making sure that the content is good. So I have to know, when I tell everybody in Tribe, okay, this book releases on Tuesday, everybody promote it. They don't have to lay eyes on the inside to know that it's good. It's also protecting their brand. So covers, cross-promote, content, 3 focus. So we have a solid 30 people, and we have people from all walks of life. International, we have someone in Holland. We actually have our first Navajo Indian, lives on the reservation and everything. So some of everybody, his book comes out on April 12th, his mother's birthday, and I can't wait. It's an amazing book.
Oh, wow. So that's good that you were able to include your son in the process, and he obviously has skills. So one of the covers, the cover that Sierra had. Yeah.
Say that again.
No, I was just saying that JL, he's been around for a minute. He was writing his own books. He does all of your design. So he's a success in and of himself.
Yes, he is. That's my number 1 son, my only son. But it was about book opportunities for him too. He started writing when he was 15. he wrote an English assignment that scared his teachers so bad they brought me up to school. It was 7 pages. He was supposed to write a scary story, and all the other students wrote Friday the 13th and Jason kind of thing. But he said that wouldn't frighten him. He wrote what it would be like if he was forced to kill one parent to protect another. And he wrote it in first person. So I was called up to school. The police were there, the superintendent, the social workers, everybody was in-house only to find out that it was fiction. But it was kind of slightly based on our life, because at that time we were living in hiding. We were protecting someone who was in a domestic violence situation, and the husband had tried to kill her. And she left New York to come to Chicago, and I changed my name, my job, where we live, my son's school, to protect. So all of what he was feeling kind of went into those 7 pages. And I told him that if he took the time that year to write that book, it would change his life. And I paired him up with Susan Mary Malone. She's an editor who works with several New York Times bestselling authors. He took a year to write that book, and it released when he was 16. And from there, he got a 4-year academic scholarship to Fisk. And then he wrote a second book and landed a book deal with Simon & Schuster. And from there, he was on the red carpet. He took me with him because he was nominated for an NAACP Image Award for a book he wrote about me and the women that helped to raise him. So a Superwoman's Child, Son of a Single Mother. Yep.
Wonderful.
Oh, okay. What year was he nominated? Do you remember?
2007, I believe it was, 2007.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's wonderful.
The year that Hill Harper, he was up against Hill Harper. And, you know, I didn't think, and I said, that was tough. That was tough. So we were on the red carpet. We were 3 hours early. That red carpet took so long. We were going to be late to hear his name called. And I said, do I rush him through the red carpet experience where all the photographers and everything, or just to hear his name called when I know it's actually going to be Hill Harper, and Hill Harper won. And it was funny because I let him do the red carpet thing. And when we got in and he found it had been announced and that Hill Harper had won, he says, but I love that red carpet. I knew I had made the right decision.
Yeah, right. That's great. Because I've been there twice, and once with my daughter with a co-written book. So that red carpet experience is amazing. Is really amazing.
And then, you know, they took pictures of you on the red carpet. Do you know I had to pay almost a mint to buy that picture of us on the red carpet together?
I believe it. I was
like, I had to negotiate with Getty's, and I'm like, wait a minute, this is my son. Y'all gonna make me pay that much for my own son's picture? So bring your own camera. I learned that.
Yeah.
I see a book behind you, Every Woman Needs a Wife. And I think that was your flagship book when I first met you years ago. And so it's good to see that book, and it's actually still doing pretty well.
It is. It's still it's the title. It isn't that the book is so doggone good. You know, there's a whole lot that I would change now. There were some details in there that I probably are triggering that I would definitely not put in. I've learned then that I don't have to put my pain on the page in a way that it brings the reader down to the valley of condition. Yeah. But I still promote it, still out there, still receive a royalty check, but it's the title and the concept that put me on the map with that one. So yeah, that one's gonna stay on the board.
There's a series that you're doing now with Sierra K. Well, Sierra K is one of the authors. And I love the cover because it's black and white with a touch of color.
The Pleasure series.
Right. I think those are so creative. My
son, he did all of those covers, and that was his concept. There's so many books out there that have too much space. It makes it stand out.
Right. It does.
That you remember it makes it stand out.
It does. It was very.
Yeah, sometimes simple is better. And you're right. There's so much that people try to put on the cover, and sometimes you just need just enough to illustrate the title.
Yeah, exactly. Less is more. You shouldn't try to tell the story on the cover. You know, some people try to tell this, like put 15 clip art figures on, and it's too busy. Too busy. It needs to be simple and impactful. So there's a real art to creating covers, and from the image itself to the font to the positioning of the words and everything. So I just think it's wait now. What is your background educationally? Like, did your education lead you on this path?
I didn't start writing until later in life. I was raising my son and everything. So I had gone to college. I was actually 2 weeks after I graduated is when I had him at age 19. I was at College of Automation and then later went back to take some classes at DePaul University. But this wasn't, I didn't grow up saying I wanted to be an author. It came as a result of my healing process. My sexual abuse counselor had me to write and put my pain on the page. And I wrote about 6 novels within a 2-year period. I write longhand, yellow tablet, blue ink. And I didn't grow up saying that I wanted to be an author. I kind of fell into it because the stories were amazing. I used the characters to tell what I had been through. And I was an avid reader. I think avid readers make the best authors because they kind of have it in their head, the formula and the way that the words should travel is just uniquely telling a particular story. Like Every Woman Needs a Wife. They say there's nothing new under the sun. Infidelity has been done to death.
Mm-hmm.
But had anyone done it the way that I put the spin on it, which was the wife walks in on the husband and the mistress and says, if you're going to cheat, I need to get something out of it. So the mistress needs to come home, clean my house, keep the kids, and put some money on the bills too. Mm-hmm. No one had written it from that angle. That's the difference. And I encourage authors to find your unique angle because so many stories are written. I mean, 20 years ago, Black books were limping onto the scene, self-published. Mm-hmm. There's that graduate class of self-published authors that got book deals with a major house, Mary B. Morrison, Kimberly Lawson Roby, Mary Monroe, all of them, Elin Harris, all of them did their own things and they didn't wait for the majors to come to them, but then they did come and accept that deal and it took them to a different level. But the stories, all of a sudden, Black women especially, were putting their stories on the page and they were so similar because we had all been through, not all, but a good majority, molestations, rape, assault, those kinds of domestic violence, all of those things. So for a minute, it just seemed like all of the stories were so the same. And readers were like, I've read something like that already. So you have to find your unique voice.
Right.
That's good advice.
Unfortunately, we're running out of time, but I really want to know. I know it goes so fast.
I probably talked too much. That's probably what it was.
No, you were giving great information, and you have people really inspired on here, like Shannon Harper, who says she loves attending your events and supporting your tribe members because she can be assured that the work will be edited and she can spend her money on quality work.
Hey, Shannon. That's one of our street team, our reviewers. We just started a street team, but she has been supporting the tribe. She will come to a Cavalcade of Authors event and she will buy a book from every author because we vet all of the authors. It's not just tribe. We vet the authors who come and she will buy one from everybody and she'll walk away with 70 books or more. Like, because you buy a book and then I have a treasure chest where you can go get a free book. They're donated by, Mary B. Morrison, Mary Monroe, autographed copies. So she walks away with twice as many as what she bought. But I mean, wow, it's been amazing.
She sounds like an author's dream. But an author's nightmare because I feel like if she doesn't like the book, she will let you know.
Oh yeah. But she also knows our process. She'll let us know, if something doesn't quite hit. But that's why we go through developmental edit, content edit, line edit, 3 beta readers that come from 3. We do a beta read cocktail. The book goes to 3 different people at once and they all catch different things. It's so amazing to see it each and every time. We do the best we can. Do we catch everything? Probably not. But the thing about it is important for us to at least try. And we do. So we come out pretty clean by other people's standards. So yeah.
Absolutely. I love beta readers. When I discovered beta readers, I said I will never publish another book without having at least 3. Yes. I mean, I need to know what the people think.
Yes.
And sometimes they catch things that we just don't even think about.
No, because they're on the outside. We're in our world when we're creating.
Right.
They're bringing their experiences to the game when they're reading it, and we're like, oh, I didn't even think of that. And there's been some times that beta readers have changed the ending of a book. Oh no, you can. Oh no, heck no. And we've had to change some things. And there was one memoir that we were about to put out, and one of my beta readers said all of the memoirs that have come from Tribe have felt like fiction. It was very engaging. She said this one stalls. I can't. How do you tell somebody that their life is it's the delivery? So we put it back through editing, and we got Stephanie Freeman on the case. She's also a national best-selling author, and she got into it. Same words. It's just the delivery is different and it flows. Even the author said, that's what I was looking for. I get it.
So if someone wants to become part of the tribe, what is the process for that?
They take our 30-day challenge. They take a 30-day challenge. They have to write a book in 30 days. And they, at that point, they go through our formula. And that is through the different editors, the cover design. There's videos they have to watch. There's also different Zoom. Every Friday is a check-in, a Zoom. And every day is a check-in on a post on Facebook. So there are people who don't make it through that, but the people who do, there are people who took the challenge last February. They're now on book 4. And I actually are in line for a book deal with a major publishing house. The thing about it is I'm grooming people to get book deals, but also keep them. There's been times I've gotten book deals for people, and the rigors of writing for a major publishing house, the deadlines, they don't keep it. So now I learned my lesson on that, because I can't put people in a house and they don't flourish, because it impacts my ability to put somebody else in that house. So from now on, everybody goes through this process and they come through. The ones who come through is amazing, but even the ones who don't, they learn a great deal of how to do it on their own.
Right. Now, the 30-day book challenge, how many words does the book have to have? Do you have a word count?
We come up with their word count because I do a writing prompt for 3 minutes, and they write with this prompt something they care absolutely nothing about. Then they count up the words, divide it by 3, multiply it by 60. That is their count that they have to reach every day. Now, we may have to adjust it depending, because the thing about it is we also make sure that they have a small outline or story flow of 15 experiences or 20 topics that they want to cover in this book. So they know they have a roadmap to where they want to get to. But it's been an amazing process. Most people end up doing the words, but they realize, they may only want to do this one book. I'm not trying to do one-hit wonders. I'm trying to groom people who want to write for a living.
Well, I'll tell you, that is a Herculean effort, because I just published my anthology, and there were a couple of authors who didn't make it through the process because they're like, all I asked them for was no more than 10,000 words. And they were like, oh my goodness, I can't, how do I get to 10,000? you know, and they realized that writing is not as easy as you think it might be. And that's the hard thing I think about the industry, is that people say, I want to write a book because it's a good way to make money. I have a story to tell. And they realize once they get into the process, if they're taking it seriously, it's not as easy as they thought it was.
True. And then for me, I challenge my tribe to write in other genres that they're not comfortable with. Because if there's an opportunity on the table, I want them to be able to say yes and figure it out. I tell them, take the opportunities.
Someone asked, how do we join the 30-day book challenge?
They need to email me. They can email me, Naleighna Kai, NALEIGHNAKAI @gmail.com, or they can click the link in my Instagram bio and it will take them to where they need to go when it comes to that. So yeah, and be ready. We don't pussyfoot around, and there is a cost involved, but it depends on if you're writing memoir, if you're writing fiction. We start with a short story because we have made the mistake of taking people who already have work and trying to get to conform to industry standards. We have people that are still working and writing on the book, and the people who took the challenge last year are on book 4. So I realize now we have to start with people who are willing to go from scratch.
Someone said, well, Shannon Harper said, she would suggest people follow you on Facebook for the next time you announce it.
Thank you, Shannon. See, look at that. That's street team right there. That's street team.
That's beautiful. And I guess that's a good way to end it because now we are at 8:30, but I know. But I did put your website in the chat, naleighna.com. And people can find you through the website if they want to reach out to you or if they want to follow you on Facebook.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you so much. It's been very exciting just to hear about what you're doing and your methods. You really have charted your own path. I mean, you're building your own brand, your own way. It's wonderful.
Thank you. And thank you for having me. Thank you both. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for continuing to be an inspiration. I absolutely love you. And I've been telling you that for years. I miss you. I just need to talk to you and reach out to you. But I just want to let you know that I love what you're doing in this industry. And I want you to keep going.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Good night, everybody. Appreciate it.
Have a good night.
Okay, you too.
Before we bring on our next guest, I just wanted to let people know I am dealing with some allergies from this weather change we've had. See, our weather in Houston changes in March to where it starts to get like it was 80 degrees today. So I am, I've been drinking a lot of water and coughing a little bit. So I just want to let you know that.
Okay.
It happens. So
even Superwoman needed a rest.
I know, and yesterday I was fine. It had like overnight. That's when it started, So anyway, sometimes your body tells you need rest.
Right.
And that's what happens. So we'll bring on our next guest, who's Stephanie Jackson. Stephanie has a book called The Power of Five, and it's Reclaiming Your Power After COVID, Racial Injustice, and Beyond. So, a lot of people, COVID affected people in more than just with the virus. It affected so many aspects of our lives. Just how we do business, how we work, how we, it just has affected so many. And there's been so much loss.
We even talk to each other, how we communicate with each other, how do we come together? Do we, we used to hug each other. We don't hug each other as much as we used to anymore. Right. So yeah, COVID is just, in certain aspects of it are going to be here to stay.
It's changed our world. But I think over time, it will wane, but it's going to take a while. It's going to take years. But anyway, Stephanie.
Hello.
Welcome to Black Authors Matter TV.
Thank you.
Welcome.
I appreciate it. Hello, Dr. Lawson and Miss Gwen Richardson. I thank you all for this platform. Thank you all for the work that you have done in order to create this platform for others and for people like myself. And the way that you just started that conversation real quick, that's about COVID. That's exactly the purpose of my book, The Power of Five, Reclaiming Your Power After COVID, Racial Injustice, and Beyond. Because
that doesn't seem like, at first it doesn't seem like those are things that go together. So can we elaborate on that a little?
Definitely. So just thinking about the power that many people felt like they lost when the world was shut down on March the 13th of 2020. You could only, you couldn't go outside, supposedly, you were confined to your home. People like me, I'm single. I don't have any children. I don't have any fur babies. So I'm in the house by myself, and I'm an educator. I teach elementary school, and I had to create a system to help them remember that they have power, regardless of the things going on around you. You have power, the power necessary to effectively respond to the things that are going on around you. In order to keep yourself grounded, to handle the things that are coming towards you. Just like you said, that the way that we live is different. It's going to be different. And even taking into consideration that the children that were conceived and born during COVID. You know what I'm saying? Even thinking about any women who may have had the vaccine, any men who were fathers during that time who had the vaccine within their system. How does that change children, and how does that change how they develop? And then even thinking about with the racial injustice. So I'm from Louisville, Kentucky.
Mhm.
You know what happened in Louisville, Kentucky. And
I used to live in Radcliffe. I was right down the street from you.
yeah, so I live in the heart of downtown, so I could hear the helicopters at night. I could, and being afraid in my own home, that. And I wasn't even down on the front lines. There were so many other people down on the front lines fighting for justice during that time, because we were in 2 overlapping global pandemics at that time. You understand? Mm-hmm. So that's the connection with the two. And we have to make sure that we reclaim the power that we have within us, the God-given power that we have. So power is an acronym.
Okay.
And it stands for, P stands for practicing gratitude. Mm. The power of 5 things, 5 minutes. Thinking about the things that you are grateful for that are tangible and intangible, like your breath, love, shelter, protection. And then even thinking about like this opportunity right here is something that I'm grateful for. So whenever you're feeling any type of uncomfortable feeling, whenever you feel like you're being pushed to the limits and you can't take it, or you feel like you want to fly off the handle, just take a moment and think about the things that you're grateful for. And O stands for an optimistic mindset. Thinking about the things that you are hopeful for today, this week, this month, thinking about goal setting this year, and even in your lifetime, right? So thinking about what kind of legacy you want to leave behind. You all created Black Authors Matter for a reason. This is part of your legacy. Your legacy is not only when your breath no longer breathes in your body. Your legacy is right here and right now in the moments that you have with the breath in your body. And then so P, practice gratitude. O is an optimistic mindset. W is a wise plan. So you can't say that you want to do something and be something and don't take small action steps in order to make your hopes and dreams your reality. Because in COVID, just think about your experience and how you felt like, oh goodness, I need to go to the grocery store, but I'm too afraid. But you have power within, so that when you are walking through it, you can use this mindfulness strategy to continue to forge through, right? Something as simple. So when I was writing the book, I had to practice the power of 5 myself, just because, when you're doing something different. This is my first book. When you're doing something, I
was going to ask you that.
My very first book, I'm a poet, and I started writing in 2013 because of some emotional things that I was going through. Now, I wrote before when I was younger, but I really didn't put pen to paper intentionally to express my feelings until 2013. But when I was writing the book, I had to get a Post-it note and write down these action steps in order to make sure that I followed through. Because I can't say I want to leave a legacy, because my purpose in life is to speak life into the world so that it may be transformed through children and families. So I can't say that this is my purpose and not do what I need to do to make it happen. Now, E is for an exercise. It is what you think, but it's also not necessarily what you think. And everything that you do it's just for a minute, 60 seconds, right? You can do some calisthenics, you can some jumping jacks, some push-ups, even if you just want to take a brisk walk, or you can just do a mindful exercise where you're just being present. How often do we take the time just to sit and be still, just be
Like
present.
we have to be doing something. We have to fill in those quiet moments with something. And sometimes we even feel guilty if we're just laying around watching TV or just laying down being quiet and reading a book or just laying down and doing nothing. We
Mhm.
start to feel guilty, like I should be doing
Should be
something.
doing something. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And listen, I'm guilty of it too. But
Mhm.
then it's always where we have to retrain our brains.
Right.
Okay? We have to retrain our brains and realize that it's those quiet moments that nurture us. You know, that nurture the spirit within us to be able to find clarity.
Yes.
Okay.
You know, when you can find that clarity in those silent moments, it's almost like it's rest, right? It's a rejuvenation, and you feel different. You feel different even at a cellular level. That's the kind of change that I want to help people. I want to help facilitate for others as well as myself, because this book is not just for other people. It's for me as well. So, and then there's like a breathing exercises that you can do. In the book, there's an appendix that has a complete list of, well, it's not exhaustive because there are more. You can create your own. So I'm a singer as well. And sometimes I might just, do a few runs. If you are an artist, you can doodle for a minute, practicing using the skills that you have in order to sharpen your skills to make yourself a better, because we have to use our gifts not only for ourselves but for other people, right? So that's part of going back to that optimistic mindset, thinking about your legacy. So how
did you find these tips? Because I know you said when COVID first started, you were by yourself.
Yeah.
So did you just read up on these things? Did you get advice from people? Where did you get to the point where you could put all of this into a book?
So right now I am what's called a compassionate schools curriculum teacher. Oh. And it's through the University of Virginia. They had a pilot program, and I'm part of the initial study where we teach kids to be more aware of their thoughts, their feelings, their actions, their nutrition, and physical activity, so that when they come to school or when they show up in a space, they can show up as their best selves.
Yes.
And this is not just pertinent to children. If I would have had these resources that I'm teaching my students when I was their age, my life would be completely different. But I learned a lot of that through my training with that program, and I'm also a certified school counselor. So that also helps with the information, and then researching things and doing what I've learned works for me. So if it'll work for me, if it has worked for me,
yeah,
we're here for each other. So anything I learn, it's my responsibility, it's our responsibility to teach somebody else, to share it with somebody else.
Absolutely.
And then, so the power is practice and gratitude, optimistic mindset. W is a wise plan. E is an exercise. And my absolute favorite of the Power of 5 acronym is reflecting on your greatness. R is reflecting on your greatness.
I think that's how we forget. We forget to celebrate our wins. I mean, I had to be reminded of that recently. I was so busy saying, oh no, I was supposed to do this and this. And my coach was like, no, what you did was phenomenal. I'm like, no, I needed to do this and this. And exactly. We just forget that we've got to celebrate our wins, or else we're going to always think that we're failing. Sometimes we've got to say, I won, I am great.
And just sit in it. It's like, so I've done like with some of my family members or my close friends, if they've gone through something, I'll just talk with them and I will walk them through the Power of 5. And then with those affirmations, because when you reflect on your greatness, it's important to turn it into an affirmation so you can walk boldly in the knowingness of who you are and who you are becoming. Because when you go back and look at the optimistic mindset, what you're hopeful for, you can turn those into affirmations, because when we speak things into existence,
yes,
you know what I'm saying? It helps us to walk in the knowingness of who we are. And, me in my faith, I'm able to, and I'm not saying that just because I wrote this book, that it is easy. It is not easy.
It's something that you have to work on constantly. Even if you're an expert at everything in the book, you've got to work on it constantly.
Now I have a question. I'm sorry I had left there. I was telling the audience before I was dealing with allergies. So anyway, and I want to do it on here as much as I can. So anyway, what grade level are you teaching?
I teach kindergarten through 5th grade.
Oh, okay. So you're dealing with really young kids.
Yes.
And helping to shape their view of themselves and the world. Now, with what are some of the things you're saying with COVID as it relates to your students, like the impacts?
Ooh.
We hear about it, on the news, but it's always good to hear it from an actual instructor.
That's a very good question. Thank you for asking. So I've noticed that some have a learned helplessness, and they won't even try to do something. I was in a 1st grade classroom, and I was working with so I also push into classrooms so that, to support academically and not just, socially and emotionally. And I just worked with you yesterday on how to spell, how to break apart letters and how to stretch them out. And today you're acting as if you have no idea, how to get started. There are some students who won't even get started until, and this is so in 5th grade, there are some children who won't get started until you're actually right there and you're telling them to do it. Like, if I'm not directly talking to you, then it doesn't pertain to you, but it does. And then, and then social media has really taken a hold of their minds.
Yeah.
Every time I look around, I see some little girl, some little boy doing a TikTok dance. Darling, listen, if you looked at different TikToks that nourish your mind and your spirit, then what would we see? And it's just like they're dealing with a lot of heavy things that they may not have had the opportunity to deal with before coming back. So they have a lot of emotions, and some children have been exposed to things that they didn't need to be exposed to, during COVID.
Janice Karen asked if you were considering writing a children's book. Just based on what I'm hearing, I'm wondering if that's next.
It is. It definitely is. So someone in the district has got a hold of the book, and I do desire to create. So this is the, you might not be able to see it because
I'll put it right in front of you. Looks like
okay. Right in front of your face like this, or you're able to.
No, she's holding it. It just looks like you're holding.
It looks like you're holding the picture that's behind you.
Okay, hold on real quick. Let me see if I can turn.
Okay, now I see it. Reclaiming your power after COVID. Okay, it looks like a cutout. Is it a cutout or a book?
It is a book. It's a workbook.
Okay.
It's a workbook. So there's work for each chapter to take you through the process of the Power of 5, breaking it down into small bite-sized pieces. And then there are journal pages at the very end of the book. So I am coming out with a journal just for the Power of 5. So multiple pages for the Power of 5. So that you don't have to recreate it. Definitely a children's version. Excuse me.
See, this stuff doesn't travel through Zoom, but
I will say that your cup is cute though.
Thank you. Listen, it was a gift. It was a gift. I'm very grateful.
Oh, okay.
Miss Reva Caldwell, if you're watching, thank you. But definitely a children's version of the book, because they are the reason why I wrote the book. Just in general, I was trying to create something to make them want to hop online. I have a song that that I wrote that kind of, you know, goes with it. Tell them that they are powerful, they are important, they are determined, they are resilient, and you know, encouraging them to celebrate themselves. And that's another thing that I'm seeing. Children are not taking the time to celebrate themselves. They want to continue to seek approval from us as teachers, and understandably so. But it's your responsibility to fill yourself up before you leave the house, so that you can operate in a place of overflow. When you operate from a place of overflow, you're able to be of service to other people, not only yourself.
Yeah, the thing you said about you know, social media and TikTok is really a shame that young children are even on it. But so much now in terms of a lot of their self-worth is tied up in views and shares, and did I go viral, and who liked my video, and this, you know, not enough people liked it. And what does that mean?
I'm going to say this. I don't think social media in and of itself is a bad thing. I think that there are young people out there who are doing amazing things with TikTok. There are 14-year-olds who are now millionaires because of TikTok and Instagram. I think really what it is that it's okay. Like my daughter used to be a YouTuber when she was 12 years old. She doesn't do it anymore, but she decided she wanted to get out of it because she just didn't like some of the things that she saw. And I think part of that is we have to manage our young people's expectations. It's fine if they're going to do things, but post something because you like it, not because you're wanting to get 2,000 likes on it. And don't feel that you have to take it down because you didn't get the requisite number of likes that you thought you were supposed to have. So, you know, along with social media, we've got to teach self-love.
Yes.
Yeah, a lot of the kids are really on their own on social media. That's one of the problems. They're really not being directed or guided. They're just on there. And so that's a real challenge. And I don't know how I feel about a 14-year-old millionaire, Rhonda. Like if you,
if they're doing that thing, why would I be mad at them?
Well, I'm not mad. I'm just saying a lot of the children, like if you look at child actors that made a lot of money, they end up having a lot of issues. You know, they want to remove themselves from their parents, divorce their parents. They, you know, it's not, for a lot of them, it's not a pretty picture. And, you know, when you peak at 14, what do you have to look forward to? I hear what you're saying. $1 million is still $1 million. And I agree with you on that.
So, and that's part of the book. That's part of the book. So my desire is to start a podcast to help with the legacy building, because there are so many people who have become entrepreneurs because of COVID.
And that is a fact. That is true. There are other ways to, the traditional ways of marketing that used to require you to have a huge amount of money. There's all kinds of avenues now that don't require very much money at all, just really ingenuity. And you want to do something different that people can use and that was helpful to them. So you have to build an audience, but it's a lot easier to do it than it was before COVID. And people didn't really pursue those different avenues as much because the necessity wasn't there. And, you know, necessity is the mother of invention. That's an old saying. That's true.
Miss Stephanie, you mentioned a podcast. You're not talking about the Women of Intent monthly series. Are you thinking of creating another one?
So the Women of Intent monthly series is specifically with a group called Women of Intent that you can find on Facebook. And we have a agreement with the Goodwill Industries here in Louisville, Kentucky, where we partner with them and we offer sessions on Thursdays at 6 and on Saturdays at 10 a.m. But no, so I do want to have my own podcast. Hopefully this maybe late summer, just to help other families, because there's no Cosby Show anymore. There are no examples of the Cosby Show.
Yeah,
anymore,
you're right.
So, but if I can tap into my own backyard, friends that I went to high school with, middle school with, who have used the time that they had during COVID, or even just because that's who they are, to help their children create generational wealth now.
Right.
You don't have to wait until, and that's a misconception that many people have had for years, that you have to wait until you're grown to tap into who you want to be when you grow up.
Yeah.
Well, listen, who we are when we grow up is now. They're
growing up so much faster now. We kind of have to make these decisions earlier.
That is definitely true. But I know that there are other people in different races who already have their child's future mapped out.
Yeah.
So it's important to help our children be curious about life, be curious about who they are, so that when they walk into a space, they know who they are, because they've tried different things. They've been exposed to different things. There are so many resources within your city that are free that you can tap into to help your child develop, to help them grow, to help them have experiences that they wouldn't necessarily have been afforded if they're just staying at home,
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a good idea to help your children develop a plan, because you need the balance of, like naivety,
yes,
versus some factual. You need balance.
yes,
you need a person to be, to have a vision, but it needs to be balanced with some factual information, something that they can really use. So it's a good idea.
And then even as a family, I know here in Louisville, the Ellis family, they have with Portia Ellis, Chelsea Ellis, and their father, they have like their own, I can't think of they pour asphalt, and they do driveways and parking lots and things of that nature, but that's not all that they do. They have their own businesses, and they have multiple businesses, and they use their skills, and they help their children to do the same. So it's that even the 80 Porter and Sons, the funeral home, it's here in Louisville, Kentucky. They have created something that is where they can pass it down from generation to generation. That's what I'm talking about. How families can collectively come together.
It doesn't have to be the sexy thing. Everybody doesn't have to go to school to be a doctor or a lawyer. Sometimes there are trades that may not be the sexiest trade, but they are going to create generational wealth for your family. So I love the fact that they're doing that, and that you highlighted them.
Thank you. And then Bernice Michelle with Women of Intent, she created something for women in 2018 from her own home, her living room in her home. But she's brought on different facilitators to facilitate these women meetings for women to sow into each other's lives. And her children are also planning to join as facilitators. So we have to create a village around ourselves. I also work with Play Cousins Collective, which is a nonprofit organization here in Louisville, Kentucky, where we build a village around our children and their families to help heal generational traumas and encourage positive and gentle parenting, among other things. And her children are heavily involved. She has 2 children, and they are a part of the tribe. So those are the kind of things that we need to do as individuals, tap into our own resources, but we have to reclaim our power. We have to take the time to sit with ourselves so that we can know, the goodness within and how we can use it to make the world a better place.
Absolutely. And unfortunately, it is now 8:59. Are you on East Coast? I forgot.
No, this is Eastern Standard Time.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I told you I lived in Kentucky, but that was a long time ago. But no, we are at the end. And so if you can remind our viewers how they can find your book and how they can reach out to you.
So you can find me on Instagram with One Hope Eternally LLC. I can I put my, no, I can you put my website in?
I just did.
Okay. So if you go to that website, you'll be able to find me on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook. There are also places where you can find me to purchase my book and to keep in contact with me and to know what's going on next.
Well, I just followed you on Instagram too, so let's stay connected. And
I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, and thank you so much for being a guest on Black Authors Matter TV. We appreciate it so much.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too.
Okay, you too.
Bye.
Okay, so I think I'm halfway now, so I hope I can make it to the end of the show. Anyway, I think I can. Anyway, I'm going to bring on the next guest.
Well, if you have to take a moment.
Yeah, and I know you have it. You have it. I don't have any worries. So if I have
but you can't leave us though, because this is your Zoom.
No, I wouldn't do that anyway. So no, I would just go off camera. So we have, as our next guest, we have Stephen Barnes. And a lot of you all know him from his science fiction, paranormal books.
Wow.
And he has a new book coming out. It's a graphic novel anthology. And he's going to tell us all about it. Now, he was here, then he left. So we'll see. Maybe, okay, there you go. Okay, welcome to Black Authors Matter TV.
Thank you. I thought that you guys had turned off my audio and video, so I almost didn't touch it myself. But turns out I was in control all the time.
Okay.
Well, welcome to the show, and it's great.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here. Thank you for asking me.
Okay, so we the last time we saw you was at the National Black Book Festival. I think it was in 2018, if I'm not mistaken. You and your.
I was there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that was the year that they came. Because I think Eric, were you there with Eric Jerome Dickey? Were you and your wife there with Eric?
I don't remember. It sounds possible.
Okay. I'm trying, because he was there in 2018. I get mixed up between the years. But at any rate, there was.
What city was it in?
Houston.
It'll come back to you.
I'm trying to think. It's possible. I remember doing something in Houston, but I don't remember what it was, and I'm not sure it was 2018. So can't be certain.
Okay. But you have been writing for many years, and I read one of your books a long time ago before I even really knew who you were, and I can't remember what made me read it, because it was Blood Brothers, and that's been some years ago, but it was an excellent.
It's been a little bit.
Yeah, it was an excellent book, and I can't remember why I read. Sometimes books will lead you to other books that are similar, and I think that's what happened in that case. But you're now doing something different. You have a graphic novel anthology, but just give us an update on a couple of things. One, your writing career has been long, so just kind of tell the audience how you got started with writing books. I know you have to kind of think back.
No, it's
general.
I get asked that question often enough that it's not like in the back of my mind, someplace buried on, underneath a shoe. I just was always writing or telling stories. And there came a point when I realized I wanted to be a professional. And so I started sending short stories in for publication, because that's what I consider to be the most reliable route to publication, is to work on short stories first. Then when you've published enough short stories, you start moving on to longer forms. And so I just worked my way into the industry, but I also had help in the sense of looking for mentors, looking for people who could guide me, looking for people who had information about how the business really worked, because the clearer the map of the territory, the easier it is to navigate it. So I would ask questions. How did you do this? How do I do this? Can you help me do this? Will you take a look at this? So that was pretty much my route in.
Wow. So what were some of your lessons learned along the way?
I have a 6-step process that we teach in our life writing class to help people get into the industry. And the first, and it's a collection of everything that I've learned. So I think that would be the easiest way of telling people if they wanted to get into the industry, based on that 6 steps. The first step is you write 1 sentence a day, every day, no matter what. You just make that commitment. I'm going to write a sentence a day, period. Nobody fails to have the time to write a sentence a day. You just have, we all have that much time. So that's the first step. The second step is you write 1 to 4 short stories a month, for lots of different reasons. Short stories are the fastest way to leverage your intelligence and your drive into skills that you can then operate with on a professional level. In the time it takes you to write a 100,000 word novel, you can write 25,000 word short stories, or 2,500 word short stories, and you're going to learn vastly more about writing with a novel's worth of short stories than with a novel. Not only that, but it's much less emotionally damaging if it gets if a story gets rejected. It's like, you're already on to the next story. If you spend a couple years writing a novel that gets rejected, it can be devastating. People fall apart. So write a sentence a day. Huh?
You say they're gonna fall apart.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen people spend decades working on projects and get so scared at the idea of being rejected that they never even sent the projects in.
Yeah.
I've seen that happen, and that's a shame, because I don't really believe in talent. I believe in hard work and honesty over time. Every single person I've ever seen who was successful at a level of expert or master at anything, all I saw when I got close to them was a lifetime of hard work. It's like looking at you go to an athlete's house, and their house is filled with exercise equipment, and you say, "Oh, well, you must just have been a natural." You're not looking at the work, the pain, the resistance to exhaustion and fear, that allows you to do something every day, even when you're not getting the outside reinforcement. So a sentence a day, 1 to 4 short stories a month. Finish your short stories and submit them for publication. Send them in. Fourth, once you're finished, don't rewrite that story anymore unless you hear from an editor. If you change this or this, I'd buy your story, or I'd like to see it again. If that's what you're looking for, you're looking for an editor to give you a personalized feedback saying, this is almost what we're looking for. So you just keep writing until you get that personalized feedback. You're not getting a form letter anymore. And the 5th step is you read 10 times as much as you write. Now, I could go into any one of these steps. I could talk about any one of these steps for hours, but this is important. Too many writers don't read enough, and they're not reading. They're reading other people who are writing. If you want to write pulp fiction, you can't just read pulp fiction. You should be reading the very best writing that you can process emotionally, that you can understand, that you can feel. It's like eating the very best food you can if you're working out. Your body's trying to rebuild itself. You need good food. You're not going to eat cotton candy and make it to the Olympics. You're not going to make it into something as competitive as the writing field if you're reading garbage. You just, you know,
Mm-hmm.
you be careful about that. And the last step
That's the way you
is,
elevate yourself.
huh?
That's the way you elevate yourself.
That's right.
You read what you aspire to be.
That's and above. And
Yeah.
above. I don't aspire to write at Shakespeare's level, but I love Shakespeare. You know, it's like, you know, it is, I would say that you want to read one level above whatever you're aiming at.
Yes.
You know, so if you want to write bestsellers, read classics. See what I'm saying? So, and the last step is to repeat this process 100 times. Once you get started with this process, figure, I will write 100 stories and send them out for publication. And if you can't do that, if you are not sufficiently committed to your path that you're willing to write 100 stories, I don't know why you're doing this. You know, it's, you know, how many dates you willing to go out on to find the love of your life? You know, how many training sessions are you willing to go to earn a black belt? You know, or whatever it is, it's not going to come to you. You know, your ship doesn't come in. You have to row out to meet it. You know, it's those 6 steps and the psychological and tactical and strategical things that fit into those steps are the essence of what I've learned over the course of my career. And I would teach those to anybody.
I like the ship doesn't come to you. You have to row out to it.
That's
I haven't heard that one before, but that's a good one. And it's true.
You know,
now I was gonna say, now you say you send it out. It's very easy to send your work out. I mean, all you have to do is, I mean, if you don't know where to send it, there are so many publishers out there. There's the book of
The Writer's Market.
Yeah, the Writer's Market. Thank you. That you can send it out. But so that's the easy part. The hard is getting over the fear of rejection.
Well, let me say that the easy part in terms of the sending your stories out, you should send your stories out to the same place you read them. If you're reading 10 times as much as you're writing, you're doing your market research at the same time. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but at any rate, the fear of rejection, fear stops people more than everything else put together. Your fear of not being able to fulfill your dreams consists of memories of all the times when you got beat up emotionally for having a dream, for saying that you were going to be something, be someone, change your life, you know, find love, lose weight, you know, get a new job, you know, and people laughed at you because they don't want to deal with the possibility that maybe their lives could be better. So what they want is for you to give up your dream so that they feel good about giving up theirs. So it's that, plus just, it doesn't matter whether the change is positive or negative, you're still going to be afraid. That fear is about change. Your ego thinks it's you. It's actually made up of all the symbols that you use to represent yourself to yourself and other people. And you can begin to mistake who you are, the essence of who you are, for your ego. And your ego thinks it's you, and anytime you're going to make a major change, your ego dies. And so your ego will try to make you afraid. Don't change. Stay where you are. It's pretty comfortable here. So, I like that. Yeah, I mean, and I think this is what we all have to do. And to a certain degree, I think that you have to, life is a lot like driving your car through a swarm of locusts. You know, those bugs spatter on your windshield.
A born writer. Who would have thought that? Driving your car through a swarm of locusts?
That reminds me of on our road trip last August, we went west to California. We drove from Houston to Southern California, and then we went through New Mexico and Arizona. And we were remarking, I think we were on like day 5, we were remarking that the weather had been incredibly beautiful the whole trip. Then we come upon a monsoon and a hailstorm all together.
Wow.
Everybody stopped. All the traffic just pulled over and stopped. But it only lasted about 10 minutes.
That's good. That's a good thing. And the storms of locusts don't last forever either.
Right.
You know, but what I'm saying by that is that it's not locusts in the sense that they'll eat your crops, although they will. It's that they spatter all over your windshield. The
Mhm.
things that, the obstacles, the things that you overcome in the course of living your life, each of them leaves a splotch on you. And if you don't clean your windshields every day, it can be that you're no longer seeing the road. You're no longer seeing the world. What you're seeing is all the dead locusts all over your window.
Now,
So,
have you told this have you done this analogy before?
no.
It is so descriptive and visual.
This man's a natural writer. He
He
was
is,
born, he was born
because
with his hand.
because when you go like anywhere, like in the swampy area, like Louisiana and Mississippi, if you're driving, by the time you get wherever you're going, just all kinds of stuff is on your car. You have to
Yeah.
get it washed because it's just swamp.
See, the same thing is true of our lives.
But
How many
it
times have you
is.
had your heart broken? How many times have you been disappointed? Eventually, when we started out as children, we just loved to dance
Yeah.
and sing in the sun and watch caterpillars spin chrysalises all day long, and we could be happy doing almost nothing because we had our dreams and we had our love. But as you try things and they don't work out, or as you try things and they do work out and you lose friends because of it, you can develop so much scar tissue that you forget who you are. You forget who you were. So I would suggest that what you do is you admit, I have fear. I was dealing with so much fear from being bullied that it took me 17 years to earn my first black belt because I was dealing with real fear. And I searched and searched and searched for an answer, and it was literally a phobic response. And I went to therapists and shamans and hypnotists and coaches, and interestingly enough, I finally got an answer that spun me into another direction when I was talking to one karate instructor. It wasn't my instructor; it was an instructor of a friend of my brother-in-law at the time. And I said to him, I said, "Listen, I have this phobia about sparring. It's when I'm fighting, I'm fine, but it's waiting to fight that just absolutely just kills me. It feels like I'm about to be executed. And is there an answer?" And he said, "Your problem isn't fear. Your problem is a lack of clarity." And I said, "What?" He said, "Yeah, it's a lack of clarity." I said, "Is there an answer to that?" He said, "Oh yeah, sure. So you just visualize a glass tube filled with water, and there's glitter suspended in the water, and it'll probably be swirling around. Just watch the glitter until it settles to the bottom." I said, "What?" He said, "Yeah." I says, "Okay." So I went home and I started trying it. And every day for like 20 minutes to 60 minutes, I would just visualize a glass tube filled with water, and there's glitter in the water, and the water is all violent and swirling around. And in about 6 weeks, the glitter settled to the bottom, the water was still, and it was clear. And I saw, it was mind-blowing. I had clarity, and I saw that the problem was not that I was afraid. The problem was that I thought the fear meant something.
Mm.
I thought the fear meant that I couldn't, or I shouldn't, or I mustn't, or I was weak, or I was a coward, or I was stupid. It didn't mean any of that. It just meant that my body and mind were getting me ready for stress. That's all it was. It was getting me ready to either, to run or fight. That's all it was. And once I saw that, my problem hadn't just been that I was afraid. The problem that I was guilty about my fear, and then I was ashamed of my guilt about my fear, and then I was anxious about my shame about my guilt about my fear. In this hall of mirrors, all these secondary and tertiary, all these other emotions were in the mix instead of just the primary thing, being able to honestly say, I am afraid. This is a human experience. I'm having it. Everybody has it.
Mm-hmm.
If I have 100 units of energy and it takes me 80 units to overcome the fear, and all these other emotions are there, they're draining away all the energy that I would need to just deal with the fact, I guess I'm afraid again. That was the moment at which I realized well, I realized a bunch of different things. One of them being what it had cost me to not have my father in the home. That given the right circumstance, my dad could have just said to me, "Oh, you're afraid? That's okay. I'm scared. I'm scared too, Steve. You know, I'm scared every day, but I still go to work and I still love you. I still do that." And I would have said, "Thanks, Dad," and hugged him, and I would have gotten on with him. We both would have been afraid, but I wouldn't have thought that the fear meant I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You
It
know,
wouldn't have been
and
so
so
overwhelming.
yes, that's right. I overwhelmed myself. I did it to myself. So, you know, I look at my life as a writer, and there are three things in life that I care about. I care about my writing and teaching. You know, so I come here to talk about this. I'm not really here to sell books. I'm here to talk to readers about the craft. You know, people out there who maybe want to be writers. I'm delighted to do that. And yeah, you know, hopefully I'll sell a few books too. But that's not as important to me as the communication. And I care about the martial arts. I spent most of my life in them at this point. I've got, you know, a bunch of different interesting ranks in that. And I care about my family. You know, I care about my wife. You know, the good, beautiful, brilliant woman that God gave me to love. My children. You know, and I care about my sister and, you know, my nieces and nephews and my friends. You know, my community. If it doesn't connect to one of those three areas, I don't do it. You know, from the time I wake up in the morning until I go to bed at night, I don't do anything that doesn't go into one of those three slots. So every morning I wake up and I think to myself, what can I learn today? Who can I help today? You know, how can I move my life forward today? Because I am very aware and very clear that I'm going to die. And so I want to make sure that every single day of my life, I get as much joy in it as I can possibly get. So the little kid inside me, as you can probably tell, is still very much alive. That little boy I used to be, he is still there, you know, and he's very happy with me because I never gave up on any of the dreams that he had. Okay. I fell down thousands of times, but I kept getting back up. You know, I don't know how to quit. Once I engage myself, I literally don't know how to quit. It's very, very tough for me. Anyway, this is rattling on a relatively simple question.
But I feel like the best part of everything that you said is that you would not have gotten to that point unless you had admitted to yourself or admitted to your colleague that you were afraid.
Yeah, and primarily admitting it to myself.
Yourself.
You know, here's what I would suggest that people do. I would suggest that, you know, there are two things in the arts and in human psychology and in philosophy. There are two questions. Who am I? And what is true? Those two questions are at the core of epistemology and science and psychology and philosophy and the arts. Because all there is to write about is what are people and what is the world that they see.
Right.
So I would suggest that your primary task is to know yourself. And the best way to know yourself is to set goals in all three major arenas of your life and then give it everything you've got going for it. And you will fail thousands of times. It's like, so what? There's nowhere to get to. There's just the road. There's just the path. And so it's like, you know, what did I want when I was a kid? I wanted a family to love. I wanted to be a martial arts master, and I wanted to be a master writer. Yeah. And the path of these things, in between those things, what am I physically in the physical world? What am I intellectually? What am I emotionally? Somewhere in there, you'll start catching glimpses of who you really are. And if you start with love, you love yourself. I mean, love yourself. You have done the best you could with your life. Right. Every one of us has done the best we could with the resources we have. And all you have to do to forgive yourself is be able to forgive other people. Forgive the people who hurt you, neglected you, betrayed you, because they were doing the best they could too. If they messed up over you, trust me, they're in their own private hell. Because all that anybody ever really wants is to have fun and be loved and loving, you know, and not have all this drama. So they may have hurt you, but it wasn't about you. You barely even existed to them. They're in their own private hell. They're the center of their own universe. So if you set those goals, and then you say, well, what happens to me as I try to move towards, you know, becoming a professional writer? you know, and writing these things and studying these things, what happens? What comes up for me emotionally? You'll start finding about every hidden corner of your life. You know, you do it, you try to do it, and you watch and see what happens, and you're mapping your internal territory. You know, you're saying, well, who am I in this sense? Who am I in this sense? Who am I in relationships, in love? Who am I about controlling what I eat and how I work out? Who am I, you know, in the matter of telling the truth in my stories? And you don't have to tell anybody else what you find out, but you better tell yourself. You know, you'd better be honest with yourself. Given that, I think that you're on the path as much as anybody can to being what I call an awake, aware adult human being, which is, you know, I think that's within all of our reach. And when you do that, you come alive in a different way.
Well, I will say that you said you didn't come on here to sell books, but I think that the words were a blessing to a lot of people. For instance, Deborah Thompson, who watches the show quite regularly, she said that she loves your philosophy, and it makes so much sense. She's never heard fear explained that way, but it provided a lot of clarity about what it really means.
Beautiful. Beautiful. You know, people say, you know, fear is false evidence appearing real, you know, or F everything and run. You know?
I heard that one, but I like it.
Yeah. And you know, philosophy, in working, you know, all I ever really wanted to do was to be a storyteller. And I wasn't trying to be, you know, a literary titan, but quote unquote, just writing stories inevitably leads you into questions of like, so what are people? What is the world? What is storytelling? And you don't want to be a hack. So you don't want to do the same thing you've done before. You want to do something new, because that's part of how, well, I don't know about you, but I get turned on by the thing. What's the new thing? You know, what have I not done before? You know, it's just like, let me do that. Let me do some of that. And so you go deeper and deeper and deeper. And so inevitably you do ask questions about philosophy, and you do look for ways to put your philosophy in your work. And, you know, if I was to, okay, so commercial time. So, you know, the new book, The Eightfold Path, you know, in this non-commercial commercial that I'm doing here, because I'm not trying to sell books. You know? Buy my book, please, buy my book. I'm starving.
I'm going to ask you about the book anyway, so you might as well talk about it.
Sure. You know, what this is, it's a graphic novel. I've never done a graphic novel before. I've published 3 million words of fiction, 30-something books, and I've written, you know, for television and film and plays and radio and stuff like that. But I love comic books, always have. And about 10 years ago, I got an idea where I wanted to write a book, do a series of comic book stories, each of which represented one step of Buddhism's eightfold path to enlightenment, what the Buddha taught when he received his enlightenment. Right speech, right action, right meditation, you know, right perspective, you know, so forth and so on. And it took me a long time to put together a series of allies, a circle of allies who could make this happen. John Jennings at Megascope Books was doing a series of graphic novels by people of color, Black people and others. And he was willing to take a chance on this idea. And Dr. Charles Johnson, who wrote Middle Passage, just, you know, National Book Award winner, you know, doctor in philosophy, great guy. He's been a friend for years. Agreed to work with me because he's a devout Buddhist, and I am not. And so that gave me some legitimacy. You know, to talk about a religion that I do not practice is something I would be very careful about. Very careful about. So it's 8 stories of madness and murder and time travel and monsters and all sorts of fun stuff. But underneath them, there's a serious intent. And the art by Brian Christopher Moss is beautifully impressionistic. You know, I'm used to photorealism, more photorealism in the comic books I read, but John thought that a different style would be useful for this. And I wasn't sure it would work. I'm still reading my way through the book, but what I'm noticing is Brian's art is sucking me in. You know, it's I'm jazz is what happens between the notes.
Mm.
Poetry is what happens between the words. Um, art images that ask us to fill in, ask us to fill in the gaps between the images, and we fill those in with content from in ourselves. What's going on in this book, I think, has been a true collaboration between people who really cared about trying to present something that had never quite been done before. And I'm hoping it'll be published in about 3 weeks.
The 10th. It
Yeah,
comes
just
out on
12 weeks.
April 10th.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
you all,
your website in the chat for people who
Okay.
may want to reach out and can they pre-order the book?
Yes, on Amazon. You know,
they
it's
can
available.
pre-order.
It's the Eightfold Path. It's available on Amazon. If you have any
Okay.
more questions from people, as you can probably tell, I can talk at any length about anything. But I'd rather answer questions, you know, from you, fine ladies, or any of the people who are listening. If there's some way that I can be of service, then that's what this time is. Because otherwise, I'm going to go camp out in the living room and watch television. I mean, seriously, my work day is over. I'm going to chill.
Get to
Okay.
those questions because your time is up.
Yeah, we would love that. Well, we have one more guest for tonight, so
Oh,
we
okay.
don't want to keep her waiting. And so we really appreciate your wisdom and just your message to people who want to write, may have been fearful about it.
Tell them
And
to go to lifewritingpremium.com. That's the class that we teach.
okay, Life
You know,
Writing Premium.
.com or
Okay.
our podcast, lifewritingpodcast.com. And we'd be glad to see them and, you know, whatever we can do to serve. And it's been a pleasure.
I just put
Okay,
it in.
Okay, thank you so much, Stephen, for being on the show. We really
You're very
appreciate your work all these years, and you really are a beacon of light for the industry.
Thank you. Take care.
Okay,
Thank you. Have a
thank
good night.
you.
Thank you for the words.
So we are at our final guest, and I think I'm going to make it to the end. My green screen that I have a new green screen. I'm still working with it. So that's why it's a little activity like on behind me. Hopefully I'll have it perfected by next week. I got another one, and I think it's going to be the right one. So anyway, our final guest is Ekua, Brew-Hammond, and she writes short stories as well as children's books and novels. So she has a new children's book, and she's wearing her Black Authors Matter t-shirt, which
I see you, girl. I see you.
I love the shirt. I love it.
okay.
Oh, thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you for having me.
For being here. Do you have a copy of your book, Blue, with you?
I do.
I was so intrigued by the cover. It was so beautifully illustrated.
Yes.
Yeah, Daniel Minter.
Why did you choose to write about blue? I mean, I'm not complaining because I absolutely love the color blue.
I see it
That's
from
my
your
favorite color.
nails.
Yes.
I know. You know,
That's right.
I was actually, I wrote about blue because I was actually reading the Bible. I was reading about King Solomon's temple furnishings, and it mentioned that one of the veils or the curtains in the temple were blue.
And I wondered why that was something that was like a detail that was, worth mentioning. So I just literally just Googled like, oh, and I came across this really stunning fact that in antiquity, there was a snail, or there is, it still does it. It's called the Mirex Trunculus snail that produces a secretion that when oxidized, it turns blue. And that just blew my mind. And apparently this was used to dye, ancient robes and things of this nature. And so then I just started doing research. And I mean, I was just bowled over by the fascinating information I was coming across. And so I just wanted to, as I was sort of doing that research and coming across all of these fascinating, stunning facts, I was like, kids should know about this, because you have a box full of crayons and you choose a color and not knowing that it's attached to all of this history and all of this wonder. And for me, it really awakened my own wonder in colors and just the world. Because if anybody reads the book, you start to, there's so much in here, but it's the history is about a color, but you just get exposed to interesting facts about just sort of humanity and different cultures. And that's also what was really interesting to me as well. And I thought, and when I have shared the book with kids, they get excited about that. When they see that, their country is mentioned, or, some cultural detail is mentioned, they get really excited.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So you are from Ghana? Are you gonna
make them feel like they matter?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Exactly. That was important to me for sure. That kids of every background saw themselves represented, because I feel like, and that's something that is as I've been doing research on other topics, that we don't even realize how much history is just centered to or filtered through one lens in a way. And it's like the sky, for example, the blue sky is above the whole world. So every single creature has a relationship to it. And so that is something that, was just fun, kind of beginning to explore that with this book. But yes, Ms. Richardson, I am from Ghana. My parents are from Ghana, West Africa. Okay. And so, yes, I'm Ghanaian American. Hey, and we just won we're going to the World Cup. So shout out to the Black Stars.
That's a huge deal.
I know.
Because Germany takes over that cup.
Oh my gosh. Well, I just have to do a little bit of a bragging right that I think it might have been the 2014 World Cup when Ghana was the only team that Germany didn't beat. I think we were like tied or something like that. My stats are probably completely off, but I remember that was a bragging right.
Well, I'll tell you, Ghana is really huge right now in the African-American community. So many people are wanting to pilgrimage back to Ghana, want to reconnect. What is that thought process, being somebody from Ghana and seeing so many people wanting to go back to reconnect?
Yeah, well, one of the things that so what I think you're talking about is I think it was 2020.
Yes, I want to say it was 2020 or
maybe even the year before. It may have been the year before. The government of Ghana put together this program called the Year of Return, to mark the 400th anniversary of when the first Africans were brought to or removed from the continent I think in Jamestown, Virginia.
It's Jamestown.
2019.
So it would have been 2019, yes. Mm-hmm. And so they called it the Year of Return. And I have to say, just as an outsider looking in, they put together a really incredible program, because a lot of people were just hitting me up on social media, like, what's going on? Are you in Ghana right now? Because the pictures, it just Ghana was looking so fabulous with all of the events that were taking place. They sort of put together this music concert and fashion shows and
I'm so mad. I'm supposed to go right here. Now you're making me mad that I didn't go.
Yeah. But I have to say that I think it was and I'm sure maybe administrations prior, back in like 2006, the Ghana government was really just sort of putting it in policy that, like, if you're African American and you want to, have a home in Ghana is your home, and they were gonna work with you in terms of like the immigration and all of those legalities. And they have a diaspora office that is really good about supporting people who are born in other countries who are Black and want to call Ghana home.
Yes.
Yeah, I heard something about that.
I know a couple of people who actually did move back to Ghana. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And I know that Ghana is becoming more and more a destination for people who want to visit Africa. It used to be mostly you heard about either South Africa or Nigeria, but Ghana is mentioned more and more, and maybe because of the year of the return.
Yeah, I
that
think
probably
also,
spread. Yeah.
I think Ghana is an easy place to go if you are English speaking, because English is the official language of the country, and so I think that is something that for the English speaking world, Ghana is there. But also I think the history, when you have Kwame Nkrumah was educated at Lincoln University and UPenn, and when Kwame Nkrumah being Ghana's first president who led the country into independence from the British. So when he came to, when he went back to Ghana, he went back with a lot of friendships that he had made and a lot of learnings that he took from just sort of his experience as a Black man in the United States. And so when he had his when he ultimately wrested independence from the British, Martin Luther King was present at the celebration, so I think that is also, just speaking of like this relationship goes back deep, and Malcolm X was there. Maya Angelou lived in Ghana for some time. So there's a long history of this embrace of like the global diaspora,
You certainly know your history, I'll tell you that.
Well, I've just because I was born in the US, and my parents sent me to high school in Ghana when I was 12. And prior to that, I was like quite ignorant about the country just based on what they told me was my only lens. And I got the shock of my life when I went to high school in Ghana. I was like, whoa, it's very different than what I was expecting. And, just as I got older and just dealing with the negativity of like the negative stuff that people put on you or project on you, if you're a Black person, if you're African, all the names I got called. And so I think when I got older, a big part of me sort of really standing tall in my Africanness and my Blackness was learning the history and learning about the culture in a way that I was like, wow, okay, you're the one who's ignorant because you don't know X, Y, and Z. You know what I mean?
Well, I'll tell you, I love the fact that going back to your book, everything that you just said, you basically bodied that in the book. I mean, you have this beautiful girl of color with a beautiful natural hairstyle, and you have the blue around her. So everything that you're saying is on this cover, and that makes it even more attractive.
I have to say, like I said, shout out again to Daniel Minter, because the thing that I discovered, this is my first children's picture book. And the thing that I discovered is that it's kind of standard in the industry that the author and the illustrator don't collaborate. And so I have met him only after after the book was out in print. You know, it was really wonderful that you know, in us not collaborating, connecting, discussing it at all, he came up with this. And it's funny because I actually, the outfit that she's wearing, I actually have a similar textile to that. And I'm like, wow, did he see that? Did he know that? And you know, it was really just sort of like this beautiful coming together, you know, of us. I really do feel like God brought it all together, you know.
Awesome. Awesome.
When you had the idea for the book and you presented it to get a publisher's interested in it, what was the response initially? Did they immediately get it, or did it take work?
Well, you know, it's funny because the story it was more about finding an agent for it, because
Okay.
I had just the short story is basically, you know, I found, I just sort of looked up this article, I think it was on Publishers Weekly, and it was like 10 children's book agents, you know, and I just started messaging, like, you know, I found out what their rules were for querying, because every agent has like a different thing, like send me this many words, or, you know, however. And I just did that. And I just kind of forgot about it, because this book, like I said, it wasn't necessarily on my radar to write a children's picture book. I was, you know, I had written a young adult novel, and I had been working on an adult novel. I'm still working on a novel for adult readers. And so that was my thing. And then I came across this detail as I was reading the Bible, and I wrote it as a poem to myself, really. And I said, wow, it just made me so happy, and it filled me with such wonder. And so I sent that's what I sent to several agents. And my current agent, who ended up getting back to me, you know, that he and I spoke about it, and he was, you know, he actually like helped me to understand, like, okay, it's beautiful, and now we need to format it in such a way that it is for a children's, you know, children's picture book.
Okay.
So I think the word count had to be reduced a bit. Standard children's books, I think the total word count is like 1,000 words. You know, and just sort of thinking of it in that way. So, you know, he helped me with that. And then when he started sending it, when we went out on submission, we got interest. We got a lot of interest. And similar, when I was looking for an agent for it, there were a lot of people who thought it was like, very interesting, very fascinating. But like, you know, it was ultimately, you know, my agent who pulled the trigger, and same with my publisher.
Okay, that's really great, because it's
Straight up rock like that, you know.
they are, but they're looking for things that are different, you know, not the same thing regurgitated.
But I
Definitely
agree with that, but I also like the fact that you were fearless and methodical.
Mhm.
And making sure that you aligned your work with the right people who would help you to get it where it needed to be. Because I think sometimes authors are so desperate to just get their work out there. They want to be published, but it seemed like you wanted to just wait and just do it the right way, and you listened to the advice you were given.
You know, I think because I have a young adult novel that came out in 2010, and prior to that book coming out, it had taken me like 4 years to find a literary agent, and then it took, you know, a long time for the book to come out and to, you know, to be published, to find a publisher and all that stuff. So one of the things that, as I was doing a lot of that querying over those 4 years of looking for my first agent, was just send it. The worst, like after like the worst that can happen, I got so many no's, and it almost became like a game, like just as blanketed, send out as many as you can, because there's always one more person. And it's actually, there was a book that I read, it was called How to Write Irresistible Query Letters by Lisa Collier Cool. And I remember that one of the strategies or the tips in that book was that if you get a rejection, ask the person who's rejecting you, okay, well, I'm sorry, you don't like it, but do you have a colleague who might feel differently? And I was like, so I would do that. And then like, I would say about 15 to 20% of the time, people would say, you know what, actually send it to this person. And I'd be like, then I'd have a name to be like, your colleague said I should send it to you.
And that makes it even stronger.
Yeah, exactly. So I just kind of, I think that I do have I'm still an artist, and I do have that like sort of sensitivity of like fear of being rejected, and I hate being rejected, and it does, it's hard. But I think that understanding that one, there's gonna be someone who's gonna like it, and also understanding that when you get rejected, sometimes it's not because your work is not good enough, especially with an agent. Yes. It's because they don't have the network, or they don't have the facility to help you get that book, to sell it. And so actually it's a mercy when they say no, because they're basically saying like, Godspeed, I can't help you, but there's somebody else out there who can.
You see that a lot on Shark Tank, where they'll say, I like the product, but I wouldn't be the right person to align with you, which I think is a very honest thing to say to someone.
Exactly. Because so much of this business is relationships, especially with an agent, relationships with editors. And so basically an agent is saying like, I don't know the editor that I would try to sell this book to.
Right.
Well, our previous guest talked about the fear of rejection, and he talked about it in detail.
I was listening. I was like, whoa, it was really good. It was really good advice.
So, the both of you all are letting people know that that's part of the process, but don't let that be a stumbling block to taking action.
Absolutely.
So, the concept of Blue, what age group is the book geared toward?
The book is it is being marketed for 4 to 8, which is, I guess, preschool to 3rd grade. But I feel like, I mean, I'm the target audience too, because like I think that for me, when I was writing it, I wasn't thinking like, oh, I'm going to write this for a little kid. You know what I mean? Like, I was really just sort of trying to attach to the wonder of it. To answer your question, technically it's 4 to 8, but I've also shared it with older kids. And like I said, adults have read the book and been like, wow. And actually I did a story time last month, and parents came with their kids, and the parents had as many questions as the kids did, so because a lot of this information is new to many of us. If you haven't done the research, like, it's new. So
yeah, that cover will catch the eye of anybody who sees it.
And the thing is, even with children's books, if it's a good story, it's a good story. There are lots of adults who like children's books.
Absolutely. I think there's a book called If You Give a Mouse a Cookie.
Yes, there is.
And I read that book at my friend's house, and I was like, I love this book. And I was so excited when I found out this author had other books in a similar style. And so, yeah, I think that, we all, we're just older, but we're still kids.
Yeah, that's good
too. At heart, we are. So, do you have a follow-on book, or are you working on other book projects or writing projects?
Yeah. I mean, I'm still working on that novel for adult readers. So that's going on, and I am in the middle of I've become obsessed with colors. So
okay.
I was wondering if you were going to do that. So you have the book that's called Blue. Are you going to have a red? Are you going to have a yellow and the green?
That's my hope. So, stay tuned. That's definitely my hope.
That is awesome. I would love to see that.
Yeah. I thought about red I thought about red as the next color too. It's because red is blood, Your blood is
I know. You
red.
know what? I mean, there's
And
every
it's
color
life,
has a
you know?
story. Every
Yeah.
single color has a fascinating
Mhm.
story. So yeah, I'm really hopeful. Yeah, absolutely.
Now,
Do your thing, girl. Do your thing.
your young adult novel is called Powder Necklace.
Yes.
Now, is the setting for that in Ghana?
Yeah, so it's primarily
Okay.
in Ghana. It is inspired by my experience. As I mentioned earlier in the segment, my parents sent me to school in Ghana when I was 12. So it's loosely, it's sort of that, it takes that as a sort of like leaping point of inspiration. So it's not autobiographical, but it is inspired by that experience. Yes.
Oh, okay. So that one, that was the one that came out in 2010.
In 2010. Oh my gosh,
Wow. So you
I
had
know.
a long hiatus between books.
I know, a
That's
long
the
gap.
What were you
message in
waiting on,
that.
ma'am?
Oh my God, what was I waiting on? More like rejection,
Oh.
rejection.
There's a
But
message in that though, because
absolutely, just keep at it.
just
And I
keep
think
at it.
that's all part of, it's all part of the process. It's really hard. Like I was saying earlier, just it's very demoralizing. Like I really did feel incredibly demoralized. And I do feel like Blue in a way was this gift from God, because it reawakened my wonder, because I was so jaded and just so angry. And it was really hard. But like I said, it's it's all part of the process. And I think it's also, what's also interesting too is that the publishing industry and the literary community has evolved so much since my first book came out. And that's also been kind of really interesting to see, because I feel like this whole infrastructure of support has like sprung up around books by Black authors and, African literary works as well. And it's just like, it's so exciting to see and feel that that difference and that shift.
Well, someone told me recently about this show, and she works for one of the big publishing houses. I won't say which one, but she said the thing she loves about this show is all Black all the time. That's what she said, and that's true. And we don't apologize for it. We've had inquiries from people who are not Black that are interested in having people on the show, and we tell them not everyone has to be Black. Not all the authors have to be Black, but the subject matter does. So if there's another author who has, and there are non-Black authors that write about Black subjects, we would love to have them on the show. But this is a niche that's underserved, doesn't get the publicity and the promotion and the exposure. And so now there's somewhere that people can go to find out about what the new literature is, and also where authors can come and they can speak to readers. And a lot of most of our people who watch, they normally will have some feedback during the show. So they'll because somebody said, oh, what was the name of the first book? Oh, I read by Stephen Barnes. So that was a previous guest. So I will say that at the end. But she said, Mary said that her children's book sold to a lot of adults. She has a book called Thunder and Lightning about, that she said Thunder and Lightning got in a fight. And so a lot of adults read that book. And
you, Tony Bonita loves your books apparently, or loves those. If you not the if you give a mouse a cookie,
yes.
If you give a mouse a cookie, if you give a moose a muffin, you give a pig a pancake. And so she's been following those books as well.
Yes, it's really genius. Those books.
I haven't read it, but I've heard about that book for a long time. And because of my long-held phobia of rodents,
of mice.
Whenever
I don't want to mess with mice, so I would not be giving any mice any cookies.
When I hear about the mouse and the cookie, that's what I think of.
Mary said that she sold lots of copies of her children's picture book to adults who wanted it for themselves. So like we were saying earlier, adults like children's books too. They
Absolutely.
like, especially if they're beautifully illustrated.
Absolutely.
Right. Illustrations
Absolutely.
really make a children's book pop. It makes it stand out. So we are almost at the very end of our time, Nana. Do you pronounce your name Nana or Nana?
Well, okay, so the correct pronunciation is Naleighna, right? But I grew up here, and I grew up in the States, and so you know, I was Nana, and I don't mind, it's Nana, but Naleighna, when I'm in Ghana, or when my parents call me, my dad especially, it's Nana.
Okay.
So Nana.
Okay.
So you've just gotten used to all types of pronunciations.
Yeah.
So you answer to them all.
I do. I know that, you know, some people think you should, you know, be more firm about it, but I don't know. I'm used to it.
Yeah.
Well, I will say that we have totally enjoyed talking with you tonight. Thank you for all that you're doing. Congratulations on your book. I did also want to let you know, when we were talking about Ghana earlier, that Zeta Phi Beta actually chartered our second Africa chapter in Ghana.
Oh, wow. Interesting. Okay, cool.
Right. We have our first graduate chapters in Monrovia.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so I just want to let y'all know we're out there.
Yes.
They would love that book called Blue, so you might want to connect.
Yes.
We're on Instagram.
Hey, Blue.
Zeta is on the move, and so is Nana with her book Blue. So thank you so much for being on Black Authors Matter TV. And
thank you for having me.
We'll be in agreement with you for a tremendous amount of book sales for that book.
Amen.
Everywhere.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You so
Have a good night.
You too.
Okay, so we're at the end of our time. Deborah Thompson wants to know the name of Stephen Barnes's book that I read. It's called Blood Brothers, but I'm pretty sure it's out of print. Excellent book. If you can find it in a used bookstore, or I don't know if the ebook is still out there somewhere. It was an excellent book. So anyway, we are at the end of our time. Next week, what we're going to be doing is announcing the finalists for the Black Authors Matter TV Awards. But our guest will also be Kelly Starling Lyons. She's a best-selling children's author. We have Katrina M. Adams. She's a tennis pro, a motivational speaker, and an author. And Patricia Ellis, she's a facilitator of the Two Sisters Book Club in Oakland, California. So that's what we have. We're going to be using the 8:30 to 9 o'clock slot to announce the finalists in the 16 categories. And if you haven't voted yet, or if you want to continue to vote for your favorites, please do so. Voting ends Thursday night at midnight. So we'll see you next week. And I'm going to get some rest. Gwen Richardson, I'm out of here for the night.
And I'm Dr. Rhonda Lawson. I'm going work. I have editing to do.
Oh, okay. So we'll see you next week on Black Authors Matter TV.
Bye.
Bye.